Welcome to the podcast, Raising Unstoppable Teens. I'm your host, Dr. Kimberly Ise're, teen breakthrough expert and founder of Academy for Independence. Today, my featured guest is Ambre, who's a 14-year-old teenager from France in Ise're. And she is with her aunt, Sophie, who will be our translator today because I'm not fluent in French. So let's warmly welcome Ambre and her aunt Sophie to the show.
Yes, merci de nous avoir invités. Thank you that you invited us. We're so happy to be here with you.
I'm delighted to have both of you. So I would like to let Ambre just briefly give a little bit of background of who she is and just her situation, just a short bio.
Ok, great. Maintenant, c'est ton moment pour toi, que tu puisses donner des indications sur toi, comme tu l'as juste devant toi.
J'ai 4 sœurs. J'en ai une qui vit avec moi et puis les 3 autres vivent avec leurs mères respectives. Et puis, mon papa est décédé dans des circonstances dramatiques.
So Ambre used to be 14 years old. So she has 4 sisters. One who used to live with her, actually, and 3 others who live with their respective mothers. Ambre has her father, who used to be my brother, who passed away a few years ago in specific circumstances.
Okay, wow. Okay, thank you for that. So before we dive into questions for Ambre, I want to just say that this episode is sponsored by Academy for Independence. Academy for Independence is a private practice that dedicates themselves to teens to help them become unstoppable, not only in school, but also in life, and to help teens to increase their sense of self-worth, resiliency, and accountability. And the approach that we use combines counseling in addition to super learning strategies to help with academics and as well as mindset hacks and other things. So I will be offering, or I am offering, a free 30-minute breakthrough session for any parent to help them or support them through one of your teen's biggest challenges. So just go to my website, afi4me.com, to schedule that free breakthrough session. So now back to my guest, Ambre. I would like to ask you, so far, what have your teen years been like?
So Kimberly est en train de te poser la question jusqu'à maintenant. Qu'est-ce que tes années d'adolescence ont l'air? Et vas-y.
Pour moi, les adolescents vivent plutôt bien par rapport à d'autres pays.
For Ambre, she thinks that teenagers in France specifically, so more globally, they used to live pretty well in comparison with other teenagers from other countries.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the positives that you see for teens in where you live, in your country?
Qu'est-ce que tu ressens qui est positif pour les enfants comme toi qui vivent en France, par exemple?
On a la vie plus facile parce qu'on n'a pas de train comme dans certains autres pays. On ne subit pas de bombardements et autre chose, quoi.
Ambre is already aware, so that in France we are gifted enough to not having so many difficulties like other children who may, know about starvation or receiving bombing, for example, bombardment. So she's aware about that and that we are lucky enough to not have such difficulties.
Okay, wow. And okay, well, can you share with our listeners a little bit about your story that has really helped, or your message for today that kind of stems from your personal story?
So maintenant, Kimberly te demande si tu veux bien partager quelques mots de toi par rapport à ton histoire. Donc, on peut passer sur le deuxième. Et puis, comme ça, tu vas commencer ce que tu veux faire. Peut-être comme ton histoire, pourquoi tu fais ton métier.
Alors déjà, pour mon métier, j'aimerais bien faire avocate spécialisée en droit des enfants.
So Ambre is starting to speak about her future work. She already envisioned that she'd like to become a lawyer specialized into children's rights.
Nice. So how
Yes.
did that evolve? And at what age did you know that you wanted to become a lawyer?
Et comment ça se fait que tu as cette motivation et à quel âge ça t'a pris d'avoir cette vocation?
Pour répondre à la question, je dois parler de mon histoire personnelle.
So to answer the question, has to give a little bit more about her personal life.
Je vivais avec ma mère, ma petite sœur et mon beau-père.
She used to live with her mother, her little sister, and her stepfather.
Mon beau-père était violent envers moi, ma mère et ma sœur.
Unfortunately, her stepfather was violent against the three of them.
La maison était insalubre, on avait 13 chiens dont mes parents ne s'occupaient pas.
They used to live in a kind of insanitary house. You know, they had 13 dogs, not really taking care of them. And so, yeah, they were a bit concerned as kids.
C'est ma grand-mère qui nous a tout appris pendant. Elle nous prenait chez elle les week-ends et toute la période des vacances scolaires.
That's her grandma who used to really take care of them, to take care of them, you know, during the weekends or holiday times. And she taught them, her sister, almost everything that they had to know about life.
Et comme la situation que je vivais chez moi, elle ne s'arrangeait pas, j'ai décidé d'appeler le 119. C'est un numéro spécial en France.
So as the situation at her parents' place was getting worse, not better, one day she decided to call this, we call it a special reporting phone number. You know, in France, this is the 119. So she took the courage to call them and to say she was not safe.
Maintenant, je suis passée en famille d'accueil avec ma petite sœur de 9 ans.
So now she used to live with her little sister of 9 years old in a foster care. We say foster care. Yes, for a little bit more than 9 months now. Yes.
C'est parce que je voulais au départ être en famille d'accueil, je voulais vivre chez ma grand-mère.
This is not, of course, what she envisioned when she called this special number. She wanted to live with her grandma.
Mais là, je n'ai pas accepté. C'est mieux de vivre en accueil plutôt chez mes parents.
So, but the judge did not accept it, and she realized that it was still better to live in a foster care instead of staying at the place, which was not so easy for them with her parents.
Et du coup, c'est pour ça que j'aimerais faire avocate, spécialisée en droit des enfants pour pouvoir les écouter et les défendre.
And so, you know, coming back to your question, this is really why she'd like to become a lawyer specialized into children's rights and to defend them, to voice them.
Wow, that is amazing, amazing, amazing on so many different levels. So I guess my question, to be in such traumatic, I guess, circumstances, it's so scary for any of us, children or adults, but especially children to, what do I want to say, to reach out and get support, or to even know that this isn't okay and that they can advocate for themselves and get support or, you know, get out of the situation. So how did you get the courage, I guess, to do what you did and to make that phone call?
Oui, donc, Kimberly est en train de dire que c'est incroyable d'être dans une situation qui pourrait être même qui pourrait mettre même des adultes mal à l'aise et avoir de la peur et ne pas arriver à savoir quoi faire. Et comment c'était que toi, qu'est-ce qui t'a fait avoir ce courage de faire ce numéro de téléphone?
Bah, déjà, j'en ai parlé à mon ancienne meilleure amie, Ilena.
Donc, Ambre was saying that the first thing she did, that she started to talk with her best friend at the time. Her name is Elena.
Et puis, je l'ai fait surtout pour ma petite sœur parce que je voulais pas qu'elle grandisse dans cette violence, en fait.
And Ambre is saying that she took the courage because she didn't want her little sister, 9 years old, to live in such circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for being so brave and not only getting yourself out of that dreadful situation, but also your sister. So you were a big part of breaking that cycle for the two of you, right? So that's amazing. And I had a question for the foster care. Are you currently in foster care or do you now live with your grandmother?
Alors, Kimberly demande si tu es avec ta grand-mère maintenant ou avec la famille d'accueil.
Avec ma famille d'accueil.
Tu peux développer par rapport à ta grand-mère?
C'est-à-dire sur quel point?
Sur le fait que vous voyez les week-ends ou les vacances quand même.
Ah oui, bah, je vis avec ma famille d'accueil et puis ma grand-mère, normalement, je suis censée la voir tous les week-ends.
So Ambre used to live in the foster care family for the big part of the time, and she is able to see her grandma normally almost every weekend, and of course during vacation. So they have it. It's their anchor, let's say.
Nice. Okay. And then also a question came to me after I asked that question, immediately I'm getting flooded because this is so intriguing to me how someone so young, made all of this really happen and get you and your sister to safety and being in a loving home. So you told your best friend and then you called the number. You didn't know that you would be placed in foster care. And you had to go to court and all of that. When you called that number, does here it's called Child Protective Services. So in France, did that agency help to give you a lawyer and to help advocate for your case? Or did you have to do that separately through a trusted family member to get a lawyer to represent you in your case?
That's a good question. I will ask to Ambre. Yeah. So Kimberly, elle demande comment, d'abord, elle rend hommage à ton courage que tu le fais aussi pour toi, mais aussi pour ta petite sœur. Elle trouve ça incroyable. Et aussi, elle demande quand tu as fait du coup le numéro de téléphone, est-ce que tu as reçu le support des services sociaux pour te mettre en lien avec un avocat, avec quelqu'un qui puisse te défendre, ou est-ce qu'il a fallu que tu le fasses toi-même avec un membre de ta famille qui t'aura aidé pour le faire?
Alors déjà, quand j'ai appelé le 119, j'ai tout dit sur ma situation, ce qui se passait chez moi.
So when Ambre did call the 119 for France, the special number, so she gave everything about her situation.
Et au niveau de l'avocat, on m'a pas fourni d'avocat, j'ai dû en chercher moi-même avec ma grand-mère.
So they did not give her any indication, information how to make the next steps. So they involved social workers, and then Ambre had to see with her grandma by herself, with her grandma, to find a lawyer to defend her own rights and the rights of her sister.
Et au final, c'est ma tante qui m'a trouvé l'avocate que j'ai eu pendant le jugement.
And finally, so we searched together and we found, so she's saying that I helped her to find the lawyer, and he's the one who did help her to defend her rights in front of the judge and the social workers. Yeah.
And they obviously heard you and listened to you. So that's encouraging, I want to say.
Je me dit que c'est très encourageant parce qu'il y a des gens qui écoutent ça. Et donc, c'est encourageant et inspirant. Yes, thank you.
And then another question that came to me was when you were in this situation with your mother and your father, were there any outside signs before you went to your best friend or before you sought help? I mean, oftentimes, I guess the first need we all have is really to be safe and healthy. And if we don't feel safe, it's really difficult for many of us to focus really well, to do well in school or to have other milestones that we want to reach, because we first need to have our safety met. Did you find that in school or in other ways of living that you were acting out or grumpy more than usual, or what are some signs that maybe that would help parents, because abuse does run close to home, and and sometimes it can be very secretive. So what is something that some signs that parents should be aware of, or even teachers or other adult figures?
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess we'll have things to say about that. So, je sais pas si tu as compris un petit peu, mais Kimberly, donc elle se posait la question, avant que tu fasses ce numéro et que tu parles à ta meilleure amie, est-ce qu'il y avait des signes que toi, tu as ressentis? Comment ça s'est passé chez toi que cette situation t'a fait peut-être ressentir des difficultés à l'école, dans ton comportement? Comment ça t'a influencé? Et comme ça permet aussi aux gens autour, peut-être à des amis ou à des autres adultes, d'être plus attentifs aux premiers signes qu'il peut y avoir quand c'est difficile pour un enfant ou un adolescent.
Déjà, oui, en fait, il y avait des signes parce que la ville dans laquelle j'étais, tout le monde le savait de ce qui se passait chez moi et je l'ai appris il y a très peu de temps.
So Ambre discovered not so far from now that in the city, in this town, this is a little town, people knew about the situation.
Et puis, pour moi, c'était super facile de savoir ce qui se passait chez moi parce que mon père se donnait un spectacle et m'appelait dehors.
So for Ambre, it was not. It could be seen because her stepfather, he used to slap them, even sometimes outside home, so people could see what happened.
Mm.
Et wow. Tu qu'est-ce que tu peux de toi? Comment les premiers signes que les gens peuvent voir?
En fait, sur moi, il n'y avait pas vraiment de signes parce que je faisais comme si de rien n'était. En fait.
Yeah, what was not so easy is that for people who could not see, for example, at school, at the very beginning, she used to not show. She had her face. She wanted to be a normal kid. Mm-hmm. At the beginning.
Right. And that's truly difficult. I mean, we can worry about, I don't know, feeling shame, worried about really being judged or even bullied. I mean, there's a lot of things we can worry about in that situation, and yet you rose above all that to get you and your sister out of the situation and really advocate for yourself. And that honestly still is incredible to me. It really is, because it is hard to rise above those things. But I guess when you witness your sister and then even you being a part, a victim to the violence, that you just, I mean, that's getting out is the top priority above worrying about all those other concerns. Is that how you experienced it, or what was going through your mind for you to actually take action to call that number?
Yeah, great. I will ask on. So Kimberly dit que c'est, encore une fois, elle est épatée par comment ça s'est passé pour toi et elle comprend que c'était très difficile et que ça a pris un certain temps aussi avant de pouvoir faire quelque chose. Et ce qu'elle voudrait peut-être savoir, c'est qu'est-ce qui, à un moment donné, t'a poussé à vraiment faire une action qui était d'appeler les services sociaux? Qu'est-ce qui t'a permis de le faire au moment donné où tu as dit c'est maintenant?
Eh ben, c'était un jour où j'avais écrit une lettre, j'avais tout écrit de ce qui se passait de ma situation et je l'avais donné à ma meilleure amie Elena.
So one day, she already prepared a letter. She put everything on the letter, everything of the situation, the facts, very factual, and gave the letter to her best friend at that time, Elena.
Alors ensuite, cette lettre, on l'a donnée à l'infirmière de mon collège, j'étais en 5e. Et puis une semaine après, mon beau-père a tiré les oreilles de ma sœur de façon à ce qu'elle se lève en fait. Et du coup, c'est là que je me suis dit, faut que je le fasse maintenant quoi.
So, and then this letter with her best friend, they gave it to the nurse of the college, of the school, we receive children when they have a psychological problem or something, a headache. So they gave the letter at school to the nurse. And so it was already the first act. And then some few days after, so her little sister, she received another bad treatment of her stepfather and felt, that's for now. This is no longer possible.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So it really helped to have just the support of your best friend at the time, even if it was just giving that letter. You were also factual in that letter, which really, really helps, because a lot of times when we want to be taken seriously, or when we're, have a message to get out, to get support, it's hard to separate the emotion, a lot of the emotion, from the facts. And yet it's really the observations or the facts that can help other authority figures to take you more seriously and to really understand what's going on, right? Yeah. Did you find that was the case with the nurse and obviously with your best friend, having her support so you could go together to see the nurse, or at least have a friend say, this isn't okay, and to be there for you?
Yes, indeed. So Kimberly dit qu'effectivement, elle comprend que ça semblait très important pour toi que tu reçoives le support de ta meilleure amie à ce moment-là. Et elle trouve vraiment incroyable et que tu puisses nommer le fait que tu aies fait cette lettre et qui était très factuelle, où tu donnais des faits. Et donc que tu as réussi à séparer les émotions des faits pour pouvoir mettre sur le papier ce qui se passait vraiment et être prise au sérieux, ce qui n'est pas facile à cet âge-là. Mm. Tu veux dire quelque chose par rapport à ça, sur le fait d'être pris au sérieux?
Non, je sais pas.
So I would say, indeed, so that doesn't know exactly what to say about being taken seriously, but it was indeed very important to give this letter. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I guess I'm thinking too, sometimes there are, a couple of things that come to mind. One is it's really important to have an ally, whether it's your best friend, the nurse, your aunt, somebody out there that will listen to you and support you and hear really with an open heart your story and what you have to say. So that's one thing I'm getting from this, that's super important. But the other thing is that, sometimes authority figures, teachers, a nurse, a parent who may like an aunt or somebody who sometimes they don't know how to respond. and it may be easier for them to, I don't know what was in the letter, but I'm just saying sometimes if a teenager comes up to a teacher and, says a little bit about what maybe they're going through, obviously, a teacher is required to, make a report and possibly recommend counseling and that kind of thing. But not all teachers.
The ideal situation, indeed.
Yeah, but not all teachers know how to respond, and sometimes it's not so much a conscious thing, but we kind of minimize the situation, or maybe not take kids or teenagers and their stories as seriously as maybe we should.
Yes, that's one thing I would, yeah. And Anne had her grandma next to her, and her grandma was always present for her and her sister.
Yeah.
But what was the longest thing, and maybe Anne would say something about that, is the justice. Just to start the process of really take the appreciation of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I've explained to her because I understand she wants to understand what is going on. So Kimberly dit qu'elle c'est un peu quelque part le sens d'une question que normalement les professeurs, les gens autour sont censés pouvoir faire un report de la situation quand ils sont donnés les faits. Et j'ai indiqué que tu avais aussi ta grand-mère qui était là pour aider et que ce qui était plus long, c'était la justice en fin de compte de se mettre en marche. Et toi, est-ce que tu veux exprimer comment ça s'est passé vraiment, le temps que ça s'est mis en marche?
Le temps, j'ai appelé le 119, je dirais, en avril, quelque chose comme ça, avant l'été. Et puis, ça a pris beaucoup de mois. Non, ça a pris beaucoup de mois, mais en fait, il a fallu que ma mère me frappe pour que directement je passe devant la justice, en fait.
Yeah, that's an important point. Aunt called the special number, report number, in April. So it was, 1.5 months. But it took months before the justice will take action. And so they took action when Om has received one more punishment, physical punishment from her mom. And it was really not acceptable. Then she came to the police station with the man saying, I'm slapped by my mother, it's wrong. And then they finally took seriously her call. But months after that.
Right. So a few things that I'm hearing is that, just so that listeners are clear on what, some tips would be, and especially for teens, that if you have the courage to let somebody know that who can help you or help you to get the support that you need, if that person, it's important to have someone like that, even your best friend. But if you aren't taken seriously, for example, let's say a teacher does kind of minimize the situation, don't stop there. Still think of some other people who can be in your corner and help you through the process, or at least, direct you to where you can go, resources, I guess, of where you can go to get the help that you need. So that's one thing I'm hearing from your story, because we all need that. And it's easy sometimes to, especially with authority figures, that if we're not taken seriously at first, we just kind of figure that's just the way it is, and maybe we give up. And what I'm hearing from you is persevere, right? Don't give up, because find somebody who will take you seriously and hear what you've been going through, so you can get the help that you need.
Yes, indeed. And Kimberly dit que, en fin de compte, ce qui lui semble important comme message de ce qu'elle entend, c'est le fait qu'il ne faut pas désespérer quand c'est long à trouver quelqu'un qui va te prendre sérieusement, de continuer à en parler, à ne pas rester isolé, peut-être elle comprend que parfois peut-être des gens comme peut-être des professeurs ou autres peuvent minimiser. Et elle fait passer le message que c'est important, et si tu veux parler toi des conseils aussi toi-même, mais que ça semble très important à travers ce que tu dis, de communiquer avec les gens. Est-ce que tu veux ajouter quelque chose?
Ouais, la première chose qu'il faut faire, c'est parler. En fait, c'est la première chose qu'il faut faire vraiment pour pouvoir se détacher de la situation. Et pour les personnes qui ont des amis qui sont en difficulté, je dirais de les écouter beaucoup et de leur donner de la confiance et de les soutenir.
Yeah, that's a great point. So she's totally agree with what you say. And so this is what she did. She continued to raise her voice to every possible way. She even wrote, she didn't say, but she even wrote, continues to write letters to raise her voice for her and for other children. And to add something in what you say, she's saying for the friends who may have other friends in difficulties, between teenagers. If a teenager feels a friend of her or him in difficulties, to encourage them to continue to talk, so meaning to listen to the friend and to show them support, and then it can help the kids in difficulties to allow themselves to continue, to not shut down.
Yeah. That's really, really key. Very, very, very good tip. So thank you for that. Okay. And then you wanting to become a lawyer. So you're choosing a lawyer versus maybe a social worker, or, working in for the agency that you called initially. Just curious, why a lawyer? Do you actually want to change the law? Do you want to help the system to be able to respond quicker? Or did you choose being a lawyer because legally you just have a greater edge of being able to get these kids out of danger and into safety?
That's a great question. I will ask to Ambre. So Kimberly demande qu'est-ce qui t'a fait choisir d'être une avocate plutôt que par exemple une assistante sociale? Et le but pour toi d'être une avocate, est-ce que c'est parce que tu veux aider à changer les lois? Peut-être parce que toi, c'est ce qui t'a permis d'avoir l'aide qui t'a vraiment permis d'être sortie de la situation où tu étais. Qu'est-ce qui t'a fait choisir d'être une avocate plutôt qu'une autre profession dans l'aide?
Parce que les assistantes sociales, par exemple, elles ne comprennent pas vraiment les enfants, en fait. Et puis moi, même si j'aurais été assistante sociale, je n'aurais pas pu faire évoluer leur mentalité. Donc, je préférais être avocate et défendre vraiment les enfants.
Ambre is saying that for her, the social workers did not really understand completely her situation. But she really felt taken into account by the lawyer, and then she feels that the lawyer can help the social workers actually to understand better situation than the opposite. So a lawyer has more power, has more actions to do to help the kids. So she wants to become a lawyer. She just wants to be active to help children in the situation she used to be. Yeah.
Wow. And I got to say, you're off to a great start, because to share your story and to have the courage to be interviewed, and really to have the courage to share your story, is going to help so many others. I mean, just by that. And then I love this dream of becoming a lawyer, so that you have the law behind you. I feel, and you can take legal action, really, which is what's required to give these kids safety and the love and the nurturing that they so deserve by being in a loving home. And it begins with getting them out of an abusive situation, which being a lawyer, that's what you're doing. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you for I will say to Ambre. So Kimberly dit qu'elle le trouve extraordinaire que tu veux devenir une avocate, et parce que ça permet comme ça d'être dans l'action, de pouvoir défendre les enfants. Elle dit que ce que tu fais aujourd'hui, que d'être avec Kimberly, de parler de ta situation, d'oser partager ton histoire. C'est un super départ pour toi. Et donc, elle te dit bravo, elle t'encourage vraiment à continuer.
Merci beaucoup.
She says, thank you.
You're welcome. So one last thing, what is a tip that you have for teens? You kind of mentioned it a little bit when you talked about, expressing your situation to a good friend, and letting people know, or somebody who could support you. So what's a tip that you have?
Et Kimberly demande quel serait peut-être un autre conseil que tu pourrais donner pour des jeunes qui ont besoin peut-être d'élever leur voix, qu'ils soient entendus pour être entendus autour d'eux. Et là, je ne sais pas ce que ça peut être pour toi, en plus de ce que tu viens d'exprimer, mais imagine que c'est quelqu'un en face de toi qui a besoin. Qu'est-ce que tu lui dirais?
Moi, personnellement, j'ai fait des lettres à plein de personnes, au ministre de la Défense, je crois, de la justice, plein de choses. On peut aider notre voix en écrivant. Déjà, moi, c'est ce que j'ai fait. Et puis, j'écris aux gens qui ont du pouvoir, en fait, qui ont plus de pouvoir sur les réseaux, tout ça.
Wow. So, yeah, the best tip Ambre could say is sharing what she did. She did write letters, even to the Minister of Justice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Even to, the judge of law court of jurisdiction. She wrote letters to people who have power to change things.
This is smart. Very, very smart. And what I'm also hearing too is, with the sharing of your story, that it's really important not to isolate, right? Not to be in isolation, because or to even hide, because then nobody knows. It's keeping the secrecy, and it's keeping not that anybody who is hiding, anybody who's been abused contributes to the abuse going on. I'm not trying to say that, but what I am trying to say is that it's easy for us to want to withdraw, and it's easy to not want to share what's going on. It's very scary. And even though it's also very scary to live in an abusive home, for sure. And so a tendency could be to really withdraw, not share what's going on, and that just makes it so much more difficult, because for people to be able to help.
Indeed, yes, you're so right. I will translate to Ambre. Kimberly dit que de ce qu'elle entend aussi, c'était le fait de pouvoir continuer à exprimer à des gens au lieu de se taire, parce que ça peut tellement être terrifiant, surtout pour des jeunes, comme tu es, comme tu étais, du coup de se taire parce qu'on n'ose pas parler. Et elle entend à travers toi que ce qui est important, c'est de communiquer. C'est vrai que tu l'avais noté, pour ne pas se taire et ne pas rester silencieux, parce que parfois c'est ce qui se passe dans les endroits où il y a de l'abus, c'est qu'on va peut-être rendre les gens silencieux. Mm-hmm. Tu veux peut-être ajouter quelque chose par rapport à ça?
Ouais, mais il ne faut pas rester silencieux, il faut parler, en fait. Même si ça aboutit à rien, ça nous vide de l'intérieur, en fait. Ça permet de se détacher de la situation et de pouvoir vivre comme on veut, quoi.
Wow. It's very wise from her age. I have to say pretty often for myself, always saying that. So indeed, not to stay isolated, to talk, continue to talk, and even if you don't know if it will give something or not, to not give up, because the effect it gets to her is that she can a little bit detach from the situation, to continue to live as she's saying, to live almost normally. But then for her, so it was a way also to not stay under too much pressure outside home, and to continue to be as a normal kid as possible. As it was at the time. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Ambre, I have to say it has been an honor to have you on the show. And I commend your courage. I can't wait to see you as a very passionate and compassionate lawyer advocating and helping children of abuse to find safety and happiness and love in a better situation. And yeah, that's an amazing vision and mission. And I'm excited. I'm excited to watch where you're going because you're going far.
Wow, thank you for her. I will translate to So Kimberly, d'abord, elle te remercie, c'est un honneur pour elle que tu sois là sur son talk avec elle. Et elle attend avec impatience de voir comment ça se passera pour toi quand tu seras dans ta profession. Parce qu'elle sait que tu vas devenir ce que tu souhaites devenir et avec déjà ce qu'elle ressent de ta passion et de ta compassion pour accompagner. Donc, elle sera très heureuse de voir comment tu évolues, de pouvoir en parler avec elle. Donc, voilà, elle te remercie encore une fois que tu sois là.
Merci à elle.
Also, thank you to you, Kimberly.
Yes. You're welcome. So this concludes our show, our episode for today. Next week, we'll have another featured guest. And I would just like to again thank you, Ambre and Sophie, for being here on the show today and sharing your story.
Thank you. And Ambre says that if someone wants to talk with her, so she's very fond of, like many kids, children and teenagers, of social media. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if she could share, perhaps.
Absolutely.
Where she used to be.
Yes.
Okay. So on parle de ton compte Instagram. Donc, so she will be very happy to talk, with even kids or parents, I don't know. But then if they want to talk about something that can be, even very positive. So her Instagram account, I'll try to spell it in the best way. So this is AMBREV_06.
Okay. Thank you. And I do encourage teens and even parents to reach out, especially our youth, because right before us, right, you can speak to Ambre directly and get support or possibly some ideas on how you can turn your situation around or get the help that you need, or you just have somebody there to listen who definitely understands what it might be like for you. So all valuable things. So I definitely encourage our listeners to get in contact with Ambre, and I will also post that in the description of this episode. So it will be in the show notes as well. So if our listeners missed it or aren't sure that they have the correct spelling, it will be in the show notes. So to make sure that you refer to that. And also, if you love this interview, please share it out and also give us a rating, because we would love that, and possibly even a review. That would be fantastic.
Wow. Kimberly, thank you so much, to give a place, a space to people to raise their voice. Yes. Specifically for unstoppable teens that you do receive. And we have also another example here. So you do a great job. We love your mission. Ambre is excited to be able to connect with you. Yeah. Tu veux dire quelque chose de plus à Kimberly?
Déjà, merci beaucoup de m'avoir pu m'interviewer.
Yes, says, really, thank you very much for this interview. It raises her confidence and trust.
Oh, that's awesome. You're very, 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 very welcome.
Non, elle est ravie et tu es la bienvenue.
Merci.
will be very happy, to speak about your show to people around. And Ambre is already so excited to share with her friends about your mission, about your book, about yourself. So yes, and this is part of her mission also to raise such things that you do for them. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, okay, well, we'll conclude today. And again, listeners, please tune in next week because we'll have another guest.